Okay, and we are live. For those of you who don't, for those of you who found my channel for the first time, I'm Renner Michaelis, and I am talking to Anti-PC, and he is a member of the alt-right. And you guys didn't hear our little private conversation, but I'll tell you now. I have asked him to, because of YouTube's rules and policies, because YouTube is so draconian now, I've asked Anti-PC to refrain from using the N-word. Now, me, I personally don't care, but you know, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, it's all the same thing. Like, there are people who are, even feminists who got suspended for a week for saying the N-word. They don't care about context. They don't care that me and this alt-writer are just trying to have a conversation. So even though I'm not personally offended by the N-word, as it's in rap music, you hear it all the time in certain places. I'm just, saying, at least for us, like we won't be using the N word mainly because it could give me a community guideline strike, and it could put me in bad standing with YouTube. Like it could get me like I don't know, in trouble for like I don't know, a few months. So we're just we're gonna be avoiding that.
Yeah,
So
it's difficult. I use it constantly on a daily basis, but I will refrain from using the word. I'm just kidding, by the way. But yeah, I understand. It's YouTube is full on censorship, and my last channel I mentioned before, I had like almost 4,000 subscribers, and it's gone now because YouTube is full on authoritarian. So
yeah, and I
this is
think
where we're at.
that's the one thing we could both agree with, because I also don't like censorship. Like, like me, I never really cared that there were white nationalists on YouTube. It never really bothered me. It never really fazed me, but that's because there are hundreds and thousands of videos. And it's kind of like, if there are trillions of videos out there, why am I going to go looking for something to be offended by? It doesn't make sense to hunt and search for something to be offended by. I would rather go and watch a music video like that. I mostly like look at music videos, concerts on YouTube. I mean, they're taking the anime down, so I would like to go watch anime and like Crunchyroll. But it's kind of like that's what I use YouTube for. I don't, go around looking, to be offended. And so I never really cared to like flag down an alt-right channel like Rage After Storm. I never flagged her. I never gave her a thumbs down. I never really paid any attention to, because like why do that when there are so many other thousands and thousands of channels to look at?
Well, when you're pro censorship, you're basically admitting that you don't have a better argument. When you tear a man's tongue out, to quote Tyrion from Game of Thrones, you're not proving that he's a liar. You're only telling the world that you fear what he has to say.
Yeah,
Do you watch
yes.
Game of Thrones?
No, I don't really watch much TV because it's repetitive. A lot of it's really repetitive. Like, if you ever heard of The Nanny with Fran Dresser, it's similar to I Love Lucy. Or if you ever seen the Disney Channel That's So Raven, it's still similar to I Love Lucy. It's just, pretty much the same thing, but with different names.
Yeah, just a cookie cutter sort of shows. Anyway, so
And besides,
uh,
I like the old stuff better. Like really do like the old black and white films, because I don't know how to explain it. They have more character. Like the old black and white stuff is really more well thought
Yeah,
out.
yeah, the stuff today is it's garbage. My girlfriend's sort of been getting me into the black and white, the older movies too, and yeah, they have a certain quality to them that is just it's just it's different from today. Today's it's garbage.
Yeah, yeah, those are the things that we could both agree with.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, so what's your problems with the alt right? I guess start like that.
um but before I get started, is there like different? I think from observing the alt rights, there seems to be like different sections of the alt rights.
Oh, definitely.
Would you say that that's fair? Different, like there will probably be like one person in the alt rights who thinks that Black people should go back to Africa, but there's another person in the alt right who would probably think that Black people should just go to Florida. But then there will be like other people in the alt right who says, well, we have Hispanics and Black people who are in the whites who are in the alt right because and that's the one I saw in Ranting Monkey's channel. They said that the alt rights is actually very diverse. It seems like that guy T likes you guys. I mean, I
Yeah.
would
Yeah,
go, yeah, I
I
would
like
look
that
at
guy.
that guy T, and he seems to be good friends with Millennial Woes, and that guy T also seems to be friends with um Edgy Spinks. What's his name again? Braving Run now. You
Yeah.
know, so I
Um,
mean,
well, I would say as far as that goes, personally, I'm just interested in what's fair. And I'm pretty big on the immigration, and as far as Black people in America, you know, they've been here for 400 years. I mean, the only two groups of people that really have a legitimate claim to be in America are whites and blacks. And, because everybody else, we have no obligation to let them in. And there's no country to send blacks to. They've been here for 400 years. They have a legitimate claim to be here. They can do what they want. They can go back to Africa if they want, but that's the way I see it. But everyone else, like kind of, I guess, the Hispanics who are just coming over and think they have a right to be here. I reject that.
okay, I could agree with you on that because if they came here legally, that's fine. But it's the whole they don't speak a single word of English and they're here. It's like if you don't even speak a single word of English, or some of them would go and they would say, and this was in Competing Forever channel, where there's this girl who's Hispanic and she's stolen a Trump hat. And she says that she like hates America and she wants to destroy America and she wants to get rid of all the white people. And it's like, well, why did you come over here if you hate it here? Why
Oh, God,
bother?
yeah. I know the video you're talking about.
Yeah, like, because it's kind of a lot like I just don't really see the points of being here. If you hate it so much, if you think it's terrible and horrible, but I just think that California is going to go downhill, and I don't think there's any saving it because my video that's going to come out tomorrow. It's about the HIV AIDS thing where it's decriminalized where it's a misdemeanor now.
Oh,
Like
God, yeah, I saw that.
you can knowingly give somebody AIDS and
I mean, what the fuck? That's crazy.
yeah, but to me, I don't trust the establishment too much. I don't think that they care about Black people at all. Like, I'm pretty sure that there are there are Weinsteins out there who have AIDS, who just wants to rape another celebrity and just not go to jail for it.
Well, since you mentioned California, I saw a really fascinating video in LA. It was like a city council meeting or something. There was all these citizens who were coming and talking to the local politicians, and they were angry about the fact that I guess LA County or city was going to give a bunch of tax dollars to the the illegals from Mexico and give them money to like get lawyers to prevent them from being deported and all that kind of stuff. And most of the people that came to speak were black people, local black citizens in LA, and they were basically saying everything that the alt-right is saying, except from their perspective. They're saying, yeah, these people are coming over from Mexico and they're sort of invading our community. They're invading our town, and it's really messed up when the politicians are favoring them. They're not they're not citizens. We are citizens, and this is really messed up. And I think that's kind of how a lot of white people in the alt-right feel. Like, and it's sort of a citizen versus non-citizen thing. But I mean, surely you recognize all the anti-white propaganda that goes on in our society, and it's a number of things. But it was a very interesting video.
Yeah, I do not agree with the anti-whites propaganda. I think it worsens racial tensions. Like I do know that there's this guy from MTV who has that show that says "F whites people," and there are so many people that are like "F white people." Like, please don't do that. It worsens racial tensions. I do not believe that. Like, I've gotten into so many arguments with people from Black Lives Matter. I can promise you that Black Lives Matter, they hate me. They accused me of being a white man. And the reason why they did that is because originally my avatar was a flower. So because my avatar was a flower, they didn't know that I was a black woman, so they kept
Right.
accusing me. So they kept accusing me of being a white man, and I had to make a YouTube video on how much I've been accused of being a white man. Or it's kind of like how it's like there are black people who get tired of this, too. Like there's this event with Milo Yiannopoulos where I forgot, it's DePaul University, I think, and there were two black people that stormed the stage, and they were like acting crazy. And then there's
Yeah, I've
this
seen
like
that.
one, yeah, and there's this one
Yeah.
black chick that showed up to come to like Milo's defense, and then you can hear it, but you can hear her. And she's like, you just called me a white supremacist. And she's like, what? I'm black, and many of us get called white supremacists, Uncle
Yeah,
Toms,
it's
coons, and
it's
whatnot.
really it's really got nothing to do with race. I mean, these are just sort of it's a facade of to rally people together, but it's all only got to do with politics. If your politics are right, then correct, not right versus left, but if you agree with their politics, then you're fine. If not, then they'll call you every name in the book, whatever fits. If you're white, you're a white supremacist. If you're black, you're Uncle Tom or whatever it is, and all that stuff. I mean, it's the same thing with feminists. They don't actually care about women's rights. It's just all about left-wing politics.
Prince of Queens made a good video about this. I think it was Prince of Queens, where the Democrats, they make their platform centered on social issues, and when they fought for gay rights, they took care of the last social issue, because now that gay people could adopt kids and get married, the Democrats, they don't really have much of a platform. So now they're just stirring racial tensions so that they could get more people, and they're trying to like make women feel bad. Like, they try to exploit insecurity, the insecurity of women, the insecurity of black people, the
Mhm.
insecurity of overweight people. Like you've heard of thin privilege, fat shaming, and it's about like, oh, you should hate that, like, skinny person because that skinny person is oppressing you. And it's about trying to get many people to feel like victims. Like, were you denied, a job because you have blue hair or red hair? Well, they are, being a bigot against you. And Prince of Queens, you should check him out because he's made some excellent videos on, these topics about how the Democrats trick people into believing that they're victims when they're really not. And I'm not
Oh, I
saying
know.
that there aren't, legitimate issues out there. I'm sure that there are legitimate issues out there, but there are also self-destructive, self-sabotaging behavior, like when there's this like a millionaire black kid run into a car and he says that a car hit him, and like as if nobody would find the original video, and people would find the original video, and then Sargon and Vernaculus would post it on their channels, and you would just see like a really rich black kid running in front of a car claiming
Yeah, it's
to
it's all
be
a
him.
ruse. It's all about seizing power. Like that Jonathan Butler kid. Um, he rallies all these useful idiots, they call them, together, and I think now he's still at, maybe not anymore because the University of Missouri has really lost a lot of money ever since that incident, but he is, he got like an official job at the school, because they complain about there's not enough diversity, all this, that, and the other. And then they say, okay, fine. And then they set up, they have all these names for them, it's like within the campus, like diversity officers and multicultural whatever. And they basically bitch and moan until they get money. It's like all these professors who want tenure, and like that's kind of what it's all about. And they create these departments that they can have these cushy jobs that they can just sit on campus and bully everyone, and it's got nothing to do with actually being a victim, actually caring about people. It's all about power for the left. It's all about vote. I mean, that's why they're importing these people from the third world, because they're just votes. That's all they see them as.
Yeah, yeah. The way the college campuses are set up is set up like Animal Farm. Have you ever read Animal Farm by George Orwell?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is kind of like set up like Animal Farm, where it's like the oppressive hierarchy where they put black people to the top, then Mexicans, then the
Yeah.
trans gay person, then white men are at the dead bottom.
Yeah. Everyone's equal, but some are more equal than others.
Yeah, it's totally like Animal Farm, and I do agree that the Democrats use the Mexicans just so that they could have far more votes. In a sense, it almost makes me think of the fall of the Holy Roman Empire,
Yeah.
because during the fall of the Holy Roman Empire, I heard about it on Sargon's channel, where they replaced the Romans with slaves, and because they replaced the Romans with slaves, there wasn't enough money to go around, and that's helped contributes to the fall. Not only that, but there's also a change in political ideologies. Like they went from uh, paganism to Christianity. So it's like a change to the ideology. And right now we have a new ideology, and the new ideology is feminism. But it just seems like people just want to get rid of California. It's kind of like, well, if California were to collapse it, then everything would revert back to normal, because it's really because they have the most electoral votes. And if we could deal with California, then things would just be mostly normal, because people would have no choice. Like if they want any political sway, if they want to change opinions, they would have to have a conversation with, the rights, the centrists, the libertarians, you had to talk to all kinds of people, because, people are getting tired of the bullying of the left, including centrists. Like did they even go after centrists, kind of like how Peter Coffin has a video making fun of centrists?
Yeah, it's you know, California used to be, yeah, I mean, if they were gone, a lot of our problems, I think, would be going away. But California used to be a red state, you know, and then the immigration thing, and they just like let a whole bunch of people in from Mexico, and now it's like forever red. And this is kind of what's happening to our country, and it's what has got a lot of white people, like, you know, the alt-right, very worried and alarmed because, you know, if we go the way of California, then it's just because California is collapsing right now. You know, their policies are insane. You know, it's like all the degeneracy you talked about earlier. You mentioned the, you know, passing the law, like, oh no, you shouldn't have to, you know, tell someone that you're giving them AIDS and, you know, all that kind of stuff, and their finances are going under. And it's and you know, when it comes to the political correctness, everything is directed at white people. Everything is anti-white. It's everything is our fault. You know, we're to blame for everything, and you know, that's where the alt-right kind of came from, because white people are just tired of it. We just can't handle it anymore. And you know, I know there's some, you know, bad elements in there, but I think white people should be allowed to have an advocacy group as well as, you know, all the other everyone else is allowed to. So what do you think about that?
I'm an individualist, not a collectivist. I am not parts of the I'm not part of Black Lives Matter. I'm not a part of the Hoodoo movements. I believe in individualism, and I do think individualism in the end helps the most people. At the most, I consider myself a men's rights advocate to a certain extent. It's like I believe, you know, when the way feminism is set up, it just it's kind of like a man and a woman commit a crime. Both a man and a woman is our first time offenders, but men would like go and spend twice the time in jail, and that's not right. Like, why is it that both of them are first time offenders, but a man spends a longer time in jail? Or it's kind of like, how come women are more likely to get full custody over men? Like, I would like that to be investigated, you know, like it really seems like discrimination against men, but I don't want it to be like, you know, equality of outcome. I just would like the situation to be investigated to see if there's potentially any discrimination there against men.
Well, there's definitely discrimination there against men, but it's you know, it goes a lot deeper with like a lot of these other groups. Like right now in Europe, you know, you said like, yeah, there's definitely the case of, you know, men get more prison time than women. And when you look at some of these examples in Europe, you know, like I just saw a couple articles today on Twitter. I've seen this one before. It's like one of these migrants that came into, I don't know what country it was, probably the UK. You know, this migrant comes in and like rapes some woman, you know, some young girl, and goes to court, gets caught, and he gets let off with like rehab or something, you know, just like a slap on the wrist for raping someone, you know, a young girl. And there's this white kid, like a white teenage kid, who makes an offensive post online, and he's getting like a few months in jail for it. So it is a absolute inequality. And like I said, it's constantly in the direction of, you know, white people. It's always attacking them, especially white men. And
Yeah, I think that the people who have political power are just up to something. Like, I do think that they're just trying to create and escalate racial tensions. I think that they are doing it on purpose. Like, I
oh,
don't,
absolutely.
because like, come on, I don't think that Hillary. I mean, come on. Do you believe that Hillary Clinton actually believes anything that she says about America has a problem with, you know, misogyny and that white men are the problem? Do you really
No,
believe Hillary
no,
Clinton? No, me neither.
not one bit.
Me neither. I think that the people in charge benefits from, um, racial tensions, where blacks and whites are at each other's throats.
Yeah,
I think they
it's
benefit.
they're communistic tactics, definitely. I mean, like that's what they're up to.
Yeah, I think that they would hate it if people got along because, like you pointed out earlier, there are black people who don't want lots of illegal immigrants in America because when illegal immigrants come, they take jobs away from black people and they leave black people out of work. So all the jobs that black people would normally take would be there would be a Mexican there. And not only that, but somebody on Twitter told me that there are Mexican gangs who go to black neighborhoods and then they like go and violently attack, black people, but it would never ever be reported on the news.
Oh yeah, that's definitely happening in like all over LA. That's been going on for a while. The
Mhm.
black and brown gang fights, gang wars.
Yeah, but you would never ever, hear about it. But people on, online, they'll tell you the truth. Like people who live over there, where they would like would say to you, or like people come to me and they're like it'd be saying like they have Mexican friends and they like outright hates black people and they want like nothing to do with black people and they think like the black people are the scum of the earth, or there would be like some Chinese people. Sometimes they would be like Chinese people working in a black neighborhood, like working at a weave shop, and then they just, treat their black customers like crap.
Yeah, it really kind of speaks to a lot of the stuff that the alt right talks about that there's never going to be this, this utopia where we all live together and everyone's just, nobody sees race and everything's fine and we all love each other and we're always going to group with each other. We're always going to group together and be tribal and, it's a balance. I mean, you don't want to go like super tribal. I mean, we can reject that, but I mean, there's just this natural thing that exists that's never going to go away, I don't think. And it, manifests itself and, everything you were just saying, like in LA and, when all these different races live together, it's not like a white, they try to make it a white black thing, but like it's all the different races, it's like even amongst Asians or Orientals specifically, like the Chinese, the Japanese, it's like there's all these feuds going on there. We just can't help it. We can't help but be tribal. And I think it's just past time we acknowledge that.
Well, I think that people could be tribal in different ways. Like, like there are it all depends on what you identify the most as. Like a strong Christian could be friends, like a white Christian could be friends to the black Christian, but they are protective of Christianity. While there are, white atheists who are good friends to black atheists and whatnot. And that's it all depends on the stronger group identity, because there are Christians out there who absolutely hates atheists, and there are atheists out there who could be friends with any skin color, and you can see like a black atheist, white atheist, and an Asian atheist all hanging out with each other, but it's like, oh my goodness, Christianity is the problem, and they would say things like, if I could, I'll put all Christians into like the psych ward and I'll just get rid of all the Christians and whatnot. And, or I would kill all the Christians if I could, People are
Hmm.
tribalistic, I agree, but is tribalistic in different ways. It's not necessarily racial tribalism, you know.
Well, I think racial is probably the strongest one. It's the one that nobody wants to talk about, but when you look at who people choose to marry, it's usually within your own race. And I think that kind of says it all. And for some reason, it's like the media, oh God, they're so into this, pushing this race mixing agenda. And it's like, why? Why are they doing that? It's like, I don't get it. I don't get why they're trying to get us to date outside of a race? Like, why is it so important to them? It's a very good question.
But do people really have a choice? I mean, when you think about it, for example, Japan is 98% Japanese, and America is 72% whites. And when it comes to Black people make up 13% of the U.S. populations. And not only that, but they tend to live in enclaves. You know, that they all seem to be all grouped up together, you know.
Well,
So
that's kind of the point as well. You know, they do live in enclaves, and they everybody kind of sticks together. Like, you know, when we had a bunch of immigration, you know, like the founding of this country, you know, we had all these little different groups. Like when everyone was going to New York, there was a little China, you know, it's like the Irish kind of stuck together, and it just, I mean, it just happens naturally. And I just don't think you can like get rid of it. I think it's better to kind of be aware of it.
I think that there are many people who would leave the ghetto if they could. I'm not saying that all Black people. I'm pretty sure that there are Black people who just love sticking and being together with other Black people because, you know, there are the Gazi Kozos, and there are, you know, the people who would be on the news articles saying that, hey, all of us Black people, let's all migrate to the South and let's get rid of all of the white people there and let's just stick together. And likewise, you know, there are just Black people who just want to get away from the ghetto to get to someplace safer, to get away from the drugs, to get away from the gangs and whatnot.
Yeah, well, I think that's a kind of a difficult situation that Black people are in America, because you've got these ghetto areas where it's, you know, that are predominantly Black, and there's a lot of crime and violence, and naturally anybody would want to get out of that. But it's like, you know, they get out of that and maybe, you know, do really well, and then they move into like a white suburb area, and then it's like, you know, they're not that happy either, because they're all surrounded by white people. And it's, you know, because it's difficult to be like, if I walked into a room that's full of, you know, dozens of Black people, I wouldn't feel that comfortable. You know, just as I'm sure if you walked into a room of like dozens of white people, you wouldn't feel as comfortable as if you walked into a room with just Black people. And it
And
doesn't mean we hate each other, but it's just the way it is, I think.
And this is where you are dead wrong because I did grow up in the ghetto. I was born and raised in the ghetto. However, I transferred to a white neighborhood, and my neighbors are nice and kind and friendly. They wave hello to me. They you know, show me pictures of their babies. They give me a picture of, like, you know, their baby. They introduced me to their pet dogs, or, you know, I've been invited to a white church. I've had a great time. I didn't go, oh no, oh no, I'm the only Black person here. No, I was able to have a good time there. There are Black people who visit, you know, Japan, and they're like the only Black person in Japan, and they have a great time and make wonderful memories over there.
Yeah, I saw I saw a picture of Black Lives Matter in Japan, actually, and there was like this bunch of Japanese, and there was like one Black guy who was, I don't know why they're having like this Black Lives Matter rally, but anyway, it's just a funny meme I saw online. But so, okay, obviously there's outliers. I mean, that's, you know, great. I mean, good for you that you can feel comfortable, and, you know, when you obviously move out of the ghetto and then into like these, you know, more white areas, and that's fine. But what I'm saying is, you know, it's not everybody, but it is a tendency with most people, most white people, most Black people, and, you know, just speaking in generalities. But if it was okay, like how many you said you moved into like a white neighborhood, was it mostly white, predominantly white?
It's predominantly white. Like, I do have Mexican neighbors right next door to me, but, you know, there's mostly white people like across the streets from me. It's white person. The neighbors from the other side of me are white. You know, there are plenty of white people here, but yes, there are different races scattered around, but what I mostly see is whites. And it's like I talk to my white neighbors. I say hello, how are you? They wave back. There's no tensions there. There's no discomforts.
Well, yeah.
They wouldn't allow me to hold their baby. Like she wouldn't be like, "Oh, do you want to hold my baby?" And be like, "Sure, okay, I'll hold your baby for you." That wouldn't be happen if it was like, "Oh no, like there's a black person here," or if I was like, "Oh no, like there's this white person here."
Oh, of course. I mean, yeah, like I said, it's not like we don't hate each other as groups, and you live in that area, so it's like, of course, yeah, it's fine. There's no problem. But let me ask you this: if I, as a white person, moved into a predominantly black area, would my black neighbors be as friendly to me as, vice versa with you?
Okay, like if you okay, I did
I
leave the
don't I
ghetto.
don't think that would be the case. Just being honest here.
Okay, I did leave the ghetto to a white neighborhood, and I'll be honest. That's if you go to a black neighborhood, I mean, you wouldn't be as welcome there. Like if you went to black neighborhood, you would probably get beaten or treated with hostility. Like I wouldn't be too
Yeah.
surprised if you got beaten up.
Yeah, that's
But
yeah.
but okay. Let me go into details for that. A lot of there are many black people who've never forgiven white people over slavery and segregation. There are many black people who just hold on to slavery and segregation. It's still like a sore spot. And it's kind of like there's this need to punish, white people for what's happened years ago. It's
Hmm.
they just don't want to let it go. It's not so much to look at you and see a white person and it's your skin that makes them want to beat you up. Like, for example, if you were Mexican, you'd be like a different race if you were still Mexican, and they wouldn't even care. But it's kind of a lot like, when the justification is slavery, segregation, for example. My grandmother outright hates white people. My grandmother strongly hates white people with a passion. But
Yeah, and
it really has much to do with slavery and segregation because if you were like Chinese and go to a black neighborhood, they probably wouldn't really care that you're there.
uh well, I've sort of changed my view on the whole slavery thing somewhat because you know, I used to just kind of be like, oh God, I'm so fucking tired of hearing about the slavery and just get over it. Like, stop blaming us for something that we didn't do. But I sort of look at it now as like with a little bit more understanding because it's like as a white person, there's things I take for granted, like living in America. I can look back on the history of this country with pride. I mean, slavery's bad, of course, but I can look at like the founding fathers and be like, yes, these are my ancestors who came over here and conquered this nation, and now it's the most prosperous, greatest nation on earth, and we did that, and I can have a connection there. But if I were black, I would not be able to do that because I would not be able to shake the feeling that no, we came over here as slaves. That's what happened. That is the population in America. They are descendants from slaves, and I can have some understanding there. I can have some compassion there because I know that's not a good feeling. I understand why that's so powerful, but nevertheless, of course, the media drums it up and turns it into something that it's not. But anyway, I just wanted to sort of point that out because I guess I
Yeah,
understand why it's so powerful.
yeah, it is powerful because, like, okay, why do Orientals like the Japanese, Koreans, Chinese, why do they all hate each other? Okay, I'll go into that. This was on YouTube years ago.
I don't
So,
know why, actually. Yeah, please.
huh?
I
Well,
said, well, I don't quite know why all the Asians hate each other.
this was on YouTube years ago, so I may be misquoting them. But there was like this Japanese emperor, and he made slaves of a bunch of like Chinese girls. And not only did he capture many Chinese women slaves, but he raped and killed them in front of their husbands. And like
Hmm.
people just can like let it go. They can be like, oh well, it's years ago. Like people hold on to the hatred like years ago, you raped and killed my great great grandmother in front of her husband, it's like you did all this, and it's
Yeah,
kind of like they
it's
did terrible things. And then so it's kind of like people who are descendants of that. It's like, I can't believe you did all of these horrible things to us. Like, how could you, you know?
yeah. I mean, there's definitely a balance there because, of course, I mean the what it is today, like with the slavery thing, it's of course it's something like we can just kind of get over. I mean, and it's not fair to just constantly blame white people for it's like shit we didn't do. And then of course you look at the historical context, like everybody was slaves at some point. Everybody enslaved each other all throughout human history, and then all that stuff. But at the same time, it's still kind of like you were saying. It's just you just can't quite get over it. It's always going to be there. So
Yeah,
it's
but
something that you go ahead.
the problem with that is that that's edits out from the schools. Like the schools focus on white people owning black people as slaves. I didn't know of I didn't know that black people sold other black people into slavery. I learned that on YouTube. If I learned that black people sold other black people on to slavery, I would have been shocked. But that is something I learned in my 20s. Or I didn't know that white people were slaves. And that was like accidentally, like it was accidentally. I was looking for sex slavery, like I was doing research about sex slave, and then I learned that white people were slaves. I had no
Yeah,
idea until my mid 20s. Like they erased that from all the history
yeah,
books.
same here. That was a shocker to me too. Yeah, I mean, it definitely, if they stop pushing the propaganda, I mean, that would just be a huge um thing working towards just kind of solving this problem. So that definitely exists. But I guess again, back to my earlier point, it's still something that's never going to go away. But yeah, I mean, we can get it to something where it's at least manageable. But
Well,
yeah, it's the propaganda is just out of control. I mean, like I said, it's all geared towards shitting on white people, basically.
the reason why the propaganda isn't going to go away is because corrupted government. People want to use the conflict to generate more votes. Like they could get more votes that way. Like they could get, like the Democratic Party could get more votes if they could, make you suspicious of other people, and they could get more power for themselves. Like
Yeah,
that's the reason why people want to give the government increasingly more powerful. It's like, well, I can't trust that white guy over there, so let me give the government even more power, and you would keep signing away rights. You would give up the right to freedom of speech, and you would agree to sign away your rights and give the government more power. So they are incentivized to keep the racial conflict going. They wanted to like stay here. Like they're never going to make black people go to Africa. They're never ever going to do this because they would lighten up on the propaganda. They want to make sure that they keep conflict going as long as possible, so that people will keep signing away rights instead of people would keep giving them more power.
no, yeah, it's divide and conquer. It's communism. It's
Yeah, because I mean, we started off with the government not having all that much power, but now we're moving closer and closer to communism. I mean, we're already pretty socialist right now. And like, Sticks Hexenhammer, he got interviewed by Sargon where he made good points about how socialist we are now and how you need a license for everything as it is. And I think the goal is, for America to be more like a communist country. That's the reason why. Like I think it was James D. Moore or whatever, but I heard that you cannot criticize communism on YouTube. Like if you
And
criticize
where?
communism on YouTube, I heard that you would get your channel taken down.
Oh, probably. I mean, that's definitely what it's all about. It's divine, and it's the reason that they hate white people, because white people are the only, because it's all about that 50% mark when it comes to elections. And white people are the only ones who reliably vote to the right. Because all the other, if the country was nothing but non-whites, they would vote left every single time. And you can like look up the data, and that's what it is. That's why they hate white people, why they're trying to just get rid of them, basically, whether they're importing everyone. That's why they prop up and divide and conquer and all this shit. But I mean, that's what it's about. So I think white people like have no choice but to group together.
I don't think Hillary Clinton hates white people or Bill Clinton for that matter. I think that Democrats just want more power for themselves and they're just using racial conflicts to
Well, yeah,
get people to sign away their rights.
well, it's almost like a distinction without a difference. I mean, it's whether they hate or like white people. They're just power hungry sociopaths, even psychopaths who want power. And it's like if less white people means more power for them, then that's what they're in favor of.
Yeah, like it's all about more power. Like for example, black people were not even a significant parts of the population. We're only 13% of the population, and I don't even know how many black people actually go vote. And there are the black people who loyally vote Republican. There's that. So when it
But
comes
it's
to
like it's
white
very
people,
small though. If we were breaking up the racial groups, I mean, black people would, if it was mostly black people in the country, it would be a Democrat politician, everywhere all the time. That's what it would be.
mm, I can't really say because black people are still 13% of the population, and I just don't see that as that's strong, for it to swing a vote. I personally don't see it that way because
Well,
we still have like 72% white, and the Democrats, they are great at getting the women, for example. Like, did you
yeah.
know that by and large, women tend to vote Democrats,
Oh,
by and
yeah,
large?
definitely. It's well, like the thing of it is, it's like most elections kind of come around down to 50-50, somewhere around there. It's like 50% on one side, 50% on the other, and then somebody wins. But if you've got, like you mentioned, black people are like 13% of the population, and if most elections come down to 50-50, and you can get a group of population like a 10% or 13%, if you can get them to reliably vote on your side, then you can basically swing every election. So it doesn't matter that they aren't, more than 13%. If, they reliably vote in one direction, then that's a pretty big, pretty significant deal.
Yeah, the Democrats are great at propaganda. They're really great at going, the Republicans hate you, the Republicans hate you so much. And I mean, but it's not just black people that vote Democrats. Gay, LGBT people also tend to vote Democrat because Democrats agree for gay marriage and gay adoption. So there are many Democrats who there are many gay people who are loyal Democrats. Like, think about the hell
Yeah,
that
because
Blair White gets. Blair White gets so much hell, and she's viewed as the I don't know, the coon of the transgender community.
right, right.
It's like you go against their own rights. Do you know what trans people say to her? They say that you go
Yeah, it's
against your own rights. How dare you do this to the trans community? And trans people, almost all trans people hate Blair White. she pretty much has no trans friends.
Well, they've been, well, they've been propaganda. They've been brainwashed. You know, we all have by, you know, it's like who owns the media? It's the left. You know, who owns the universities? The left. And then that's, you know, the reason why they think the left is on their side, like you mentioned, the gay community. It's like right after the Orlando shooting, you know, it's like 50 people were killed in a gay club because of, you know, some Muslim went in there and shot it up. And that's who the left protects. You know, they're all in on the Muslim thing. And I think that's where a lot of gay people were like, okay, that's it. You know, we're switching to Trump. But it's weird how they keep, you know, they've been brainwashed into thinking, oh no, the left are our protectors. It's like, no, they're not. A Muslim just killed, you know, 50 of you guys, and they're sitting there making excuses for the Muslims. So they're clearly not in your favor. You know, I mean, you see, like you mentioned earlier, it's like the progressive stack. You know, the Muslims are at the top. They're the biggest victims, and it's crazy. You know, it's like the only reason why anyone would think that the left are their friends is because they've been propagandized into believing that.
Yeah, the gay
or
community.
because they're corrupt.
Yeah, the gay community, they don't really like the rights all that much because the rights tends to be against gay marriage, and you know, like they know that they can't really get married like in the past because of Republicans, while the Democrats, like, you know, it's kind of like how Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama came out as pro-gay rights, and how Obama talked about how he's going to try to change the laws to favor the gays. So many gay people love Barack Obama. There are many gay people who view Obama their favorite president because he gave the gays their rights to marry, which
Well,
is a
that's
really big deal
true.
for them.
That's definitely true. And there's definitely, you know, particularly now that the alt-right is emerging, there's, you know, that they're not so friendly on the right towards the gays. But I think the fact that the gays, you know, the gay community, you know, care so much about gay marriage is also a bit of a, you know, propaganda thing, because like, you know, gays can still live together without getting married. Like, I don't think it was ever that big of a deal. Like, even within the gay community, it's like it's a small minority of them that actually want to get married, you know, and settle down and all that. Because you know, it's like being gay, living that lifestyle. It is a bit erratic. Whereas, like when you're straight, the normal thing to do is to get married, but it's not so normal in the gay community. And it's, you know, even if it was, it's like it's not that big of a deal that the government gives you a piece of paper and says you're officially married. So I think they've really, it's another one of those just bullshit tactics that they've propagandized people with, that, you know, if you're not in favor of gay marriage, you're just a monster, and how dare you, you Nazi scum, and all that crap.
I think it's the legal benefits that comes from getting married. Like, um, somebody went through the details about all the benefits that comes with being married to somebody. That doesn't come with a civil union. I mean,
Yeah, but it's, I mean, you know, a few benefits, a few legal benefits, and you know, we're acted like we're supposed to believe it's just the biggest civil rights issue of our time, you know, and it's really kind of a facade, I think.
yeah, but it's still an issue that is really strong for the gay community. That's how the Democrats got a lot of power, because if you target each individual minority group, like if you target Black people, if you target the gays, if you target the trans, if you target the Muslim, if you target every single last minority group, you're going to eventually swing the election to your favor. Not to mention they target women too. You know, they target women and they pit women against men.
Hmm. Yeah, well, the groups that they go after, they have very high percentages. Like Black people vote Democrat 95%. Hispanics, it's like, I don't know, 70%, you know, and on and on. And like, just think about if white people voted the same way for the right. Like, the Democrats would not win a single election in this country ever.
Yeah, but
So
I don't think that's going to happen because there would be the cis straight white person who has a gay son, like a flamboyant gay son, and they even if they are cisgender straight and white, because they have a flamboyant gay son, they're going to vote in favor for their minority relative because people are always going to vote for what benefits their relatives. You know, like if you are a white person but you have a black wife, you're going to vote Democrats even if you're white because your wife is black and your child is biracial. So there still be white people who would vote left because of their connection to a minority, you know, or being like a
well,
white person with a Muslim friend, you know.
well, definitely. I mean, that's where we're at in this country. But the reason it's got to this point is because of the propaganda. I mean, that's what they have to do in order to get white people to vote to the left. They have to brainwash and propagandize in the school and the media and everything else, because this country has always been a center right nation until about like the 60s, when they just started in with, the immigration, and then the hippie dippy movement, and everything's all free love, and all that. Degeneracy and insanity we're seeing on the college campus right now, that kind of stuff. But before that, it's always been a center right nation. It's always been you know the people who came over and founded this country. It was self-reliant people. They don't want government. I mean, that's what it was founded on, small government. And that's what this country has always been about. But the only way they get white people to vote against the right is to propagandize them.
Well,
And because these issues you talk about, oh, the gay thing, I've got a gay son, and that's really a part of the propaganda, I think.
yeah,
I
but I
mean,
mean, how many people in the alt rights, you know, are gay friendly? Like I could go to Gab AI, search the derogatory slur, the F word. It is kind of like the words you use to describe, you know, gay people. I don't think gay people feel more welcome. Like if you had to say, where would a gay person feel more welcome? Would they feel more welcomed with the left, or would they feel more
well,
welcomed
that
with
is
the
true.
alt-right?
That is true. I will give you that. The alt right is not so bad. I think what the alt right wants is for the gay community to go back into the closet, so to speak. I think they're concerned about, because I sort of agree with this too, because it's like you see it everywhere on TV, and it's like, why do we have to keep seeing this like transgender and gay stuff everywhere we look? Why is it being shoved down our throats? And I think it, would be somewhat better if it kind of went back in the closet instead of just, like you've seen those gay pride parades. I mean,
It, you know,
like
saying
it's hard to say those are a good thing for society. You know what I mean?
yeah, but it's kind of what gay people wants. They want to be flamboyantly gay. They want to be out of the closet. They want to be, you know, loud, proud. I'm gay, and their parents. They want what's best for their kid. They want their kid to be happy, and you know, parents, you know, mama bear takes over. Where it's kind of like, you don't approve of my son, you don't approve of my gay son, f you. You know, it's kind of like, well, I'm gonna vote left from now on to for the feelings and well-being of my gay son, you know. And you know, it does, you know, like, you know that if you fit the child, you fit the parents, especially mom is going to be very protective of you. So there's going to be white people who are going to continuously vote Democrat because they love their gay child so much, and they also wouldn't want their gay child to be in the closet. They want the rest of the world to accept their gay child for how
Right.
he is.
Right, but I mean, there's a balance somewhere in here, because there's a lot of gay people who, even I mean, they look at the gay pride type of flamboyancy, and they realize like, oh, this is not a good thing for gay people, because it generates a lot of animosity. People see that and it's just like, oh God, like I don't like that shit. Like I don't want my kids to look on the TV or go out the house and see that crap. And it's yeah, I mean, I
Well,
just like, people don't
well,
like that. But there's not enough gay people to swing an election, like you were saying, oh yeah, I'll vote that way because my son's gay, and there's not enough gay people for that to be, a thing to,
Well, I
and
do
it's
think
only one issue.
it all adds up, and I mean, but I do agree that the gay pride parade is very sexualized. It's overly sexualized to the point where there would be like other gay people who are a lot like, it's just too sexualized, when
Yeah,
there are
it's
like,
just too much.
especially when there are like 9-year-old kids. Like there's this
Yeah.
viral video on Twitter where there's like a 9-year-old child wearing short shorts and he's twerking around nearly naked men. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
this kid is
Yeah.
he's surrounded nearly naked
It's
men.
like, yeah, it's something that kind of almost, it's like viscerally, it gives you this visceral reaction, like, it's like, I don't know quite exactly what's wrong about that, but I know it's wrong, like the 9-year-old kid twerking around, like, it just isn't right.
It's not some. It's like he's twerking, but he's nearly naked too. Like this 9-year-old kid is nearly naked, and he's surrounded by nearly naked men. Or like I think that there's this one image where you see like a grown man in the gay pride parade kissing like a kid somewhere, and it's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
like it reaches the point where you can't help but to think about pedophilia. You can't help but to think that
Right.
way. Like your mind just goes that way without you trying to, because it's kind of like, does it have to be that sexualized? Because there are kids there, like that's the reason why people complain about, it being sexualized, and then progressive starts yelling and screaming and saying bigot, like you're a bigot and you're a bigot. When it's like the reason why people complain about being so sexualized is because there are 9-year-olds there, and people would naturally have a problem with something that sexual around a 9-year-old. Like if it's adults only, then people be like, oh, okay, well, there's only adults, so fine. But the moment kids are involved, people naturally feel protective of a
Hmm.
child.
Yeah, well, that's another thing too. It's sort of the pedophilia agenda is, it's like this weird thing it's sort of the next step in, it's like first it's the gay thing, the LGBTQF to the squared, whatever, and then the transgender thing, and pedophilia is like the next one down the line, and it's sort of tagged along, it attached itself to this, LGBT movement. And I don't know if you've seen, like, they've got these articles, trying to say normalize pedophilia, so we got to sympathize with these people, and that's the big problem. And people are not going to like that, and it's, unfortunately for the gay people, that's that pedophilia thing, like NAMBLA and stuff, it's like they've attached themselves to the gay thing, so it's hard to disassociate the two things. And that's another problem that people, because yeah, you're right. I mean, when you see the kids, being put in certain situations like that, that's when people have these real strong protective reactions.
Yeah, and this is how the left ends up being self-destructive and self-sabotaging. It's kind of like
You're right.
nobody wants to see a 9-year-old kid around nearly naked adults, or when it's like these Antifa fights, and like, like there would be kids who would bring their kids to these Antifa fights, and they'll get mad at the police because the police put pepper spray in their general direction, and they didn't mean to hit the kid, but they were going, like there's like these bombs to get the crowd under control, and then the lad would prop up their kid and say my kid was affected, but it's like, why did you bring your kid to the first place? It is terrible that you brought your kids to a place like that, and we can see what you're doing. You're using your kid as a shield to protect you from criticism. No, you are a bad parent, and what makes you a bad parent is because you shouldn't bring your child to an Antifa gathering because you know that there's going to be violence over there.
Definitely. So you said you voted Trump.
Yeah, I did voted straight Republican in the last election.
When did you decide to go for Trump? At like, what point in the election, I guess, did you say, okay, I'm going with Trump?
Well, I didn't like either candidates. I didn't like it, but the left were just, they were quite mad. They were just mad, like, it's kind of a lot like you could get like a bunch of nasty comments, about like, if you don't want to vote for Hillary, but Trump supporters, they tend to be more fun, more easygoing, like, there's this person who just says, do whatever you want to do, just vote your conscience, I would support you no matter what you do. Like, if you vote Trump, I like you. If you don't vote Trump, I still like you, And it's kind of a lot like the left was just so crazy, and they don't even know how to treat
Yeah.
people. Like, like even Prince of Queens was in a live stream about how, as a gay man, he's been getting a lot of hate from the left. And he says he thinks it started because of Milo Yiannopoulos. And like, they reference him and Milo Yiannopoulos like together and whatnot. And it's kind of like
Hmm.
they're telling gay men to have sex with trans people now. And gay men are like, we don't want to have sex with trans people, like he doesn't want to have sex with, a trans person.
Yeah, yeah.
And
What are you, a bigot?
yeah, and so it's kind of like the left has just gone so far that it's destroying the bonds that people originally shared with each other. Like there are gay men who wants to be with other white gay men. They don't want to be with a black gay man. But it's like, oh, you don't want to date a black person, you're a racist bigot. And they're like,
Yeah.
really? We keep getting that. We keep getting that we're racist because we want to be with other white men. It's like, it ends up where the left, it becomes like it goes from you should be free to be gay, but you should be forced to date somebody you don't want to date. Like, like in the gay person, it's like, I can't help it. I like white men, it's just
Right.
something that just happens, I can't help that. I'm not attracted to a black man. It has nothing to do with the racism. It's just that I'm just attracted to, my own race. And, the other gay men who are like, they will sleep with, a black gay man, but they refuse to sleep with a trans man. It's like, well, you still have your original body part, you still have your V area, and I want, I want a man body parts. And they're like, no, I refuse to do this. And it pushes the gay community away from the left because and this happened in such a short period of time because it was on Obama's second term that he talked about gay rights. And then now almost immediately gays are being forced to be with trans people against their will, or gay white people are forced to be with gay black people against their will.
Yeah, it's very intolerant. Yeah, it's almost like, that's why I say the gays are they're kind of stuck in the middle here, like between it's like the right and then the left. Because yeah, it is weird thing how they kind of, it's like they didn't really have a say in the matter and a lot of this stuff. It's just like, oh no, you're gonna accept this, we're doing the transgender thing and everything. But yeah, I think that was a big reason why Trump won, because there's just so much hostility from the left. Like you say, you could be well, I'm not sure who to vote for. I don't really like Hillary. I don't really like Trump. I'm weighing my options. And then people on the left are like, what? How dare you? What are you, a Nazi? And it's like, that's the kind of thing that will push you over the edge and say, well, I can vote for who I want to. So no, you can't, and they put, it's like, well, fine, I'll vote Trump then. Because it's just like, it's such a extreme reaction. It's like when you have a friend who, it's like, if you don't want to hang out with them, they're like, no, you have to hang out with me. It's like, okay, well, how about no? It's like, how about I don't want to be friends with you anymore because you're so angry about me not doing what you want to do? And yeah, definitely, I think that was a big big part of why people why people are fleeing from the left.
Yeah, you have no idea how much harassment I've received from the left, like being called a coon, being called a white supremacist. It's like I'm black. How am I a white supremacist? I've been called black. I've been called a sellout. I've been, accused of being like a race traitor. It's kind of a lot like people would just get on to me. It's like, really, really? And it's like I had no interest in Trump, no interest in the Republican Party, had no interest in voting Republican, but they were just so hostile because I could get the immigration issue. It's like you could just be a lot like, well, I just don't want, open borders. And, I mean, that's another reason why I voted for Trump. Like Hillary Clinton
Yeah,
wanted
that
open borders, and
that
I
was a
voted
very, very
because
big deal in the election.
yeah, yeah, for me, open borders was a
It's
big
insane.
deal. Yeah, because like
Yeah,
I
it's
said,
insane that just
the
like, oh, we don't need borders.
the Mexicans still jobs from black people. I mean, it's kind of like the Mexicans take jobs away from black people, and hearing that they are going to black neighborhoods and beating the crap out of other black people. It's like I don't want them here, and it has nothing to do with I hate their skin color. It has nothing to do with their skin color. I just want more job opportunities.
Hmm. It's the immigration thing was a huge deal.
Or it's kind of like how they are more, how do I put it? It's kind of like the issue with Islam, even though America, we're not all that affected. The British people have it worse with, Islam and how Muslims, they go around raping women. I mean, they
Definitely.
film it. They film it. They live streamed it. It was live streamed on Facebook. There were like, I don't know, 5 Muslim men live streaming it. It was live for the whole world to see, and they were raping a Swedish girl, and they were like bragging about it and how Facebook protects them and Sweden protects them. Or it's kind of a lot like there's this incident in like Sweden where a woman used pepper spray on a Muslim who was about to rape her, and she gets in jail, but he doesn't.
Yeah, I read about that one. That's it's insane, and it's it gives you such a deep visceral reaction because it's like it's literally, I mean, in Europe particularly, it is an invading force, and the people who are supposed to protect you, I mean, your leaders are just like, oh no, this is fine, and if you got a problem with it, you're a bigot. They're like, maybe your sister was gang raped and they filmed the thing and put it on Facebook, and you're just supposed to kind of lay down and take it. And, that's what's causing people to like these far right groups who are just like, no, that is not going to happen. And oh God, it's like, it's all part of this communistic agenda, like you said, to pit us against each other. And it's, oh God, it's so fucked up.
Yeah,
What
like
has this world become?
yeah, like I think it will probably go darker. Like I think as dark as thing I think as dark as things are now, I think it will go darker because I think that the whole California law is meant to protect rich men. That's the way people like Weinstein won't go to jail for like rape. But not only that, but like if people are overly reliant on the government and they give the government too much power, then the government could easily go like, they could kill you all. I mean, kill off the Californias by getting rid of the medication for AIDS. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like with AIDS, you got to take pills.
Yeah.
Like you had to pay like $500 a month for to get AIDS under control. So you'll be spending like $1 million throughout your lifetime. They could easily they could easily cut you off from the medication. Do you know what would happen if the government of California were to cut people off from their AIDS medication? They would all die. I think that I think that's the next step. I think the next step would be, do as we say. And if you don't do what we say, then we're going to take away the AIDS medication and you'll just die. So you have no choice but to do what we say. That's the reason why I want Clexits. I want them to stay out of the United States because AIDS needs to be illegal. Knowingly, I mean, I would think that even knowing unknowingly giving a person AIDS should still be illegal because you should get tested before having sex with a different partner. Like, why are you having
Yeah,
sex with somebody new without getting tested first? So I would say that even if you had no idea you have AIDS, you should still go to jail if you give it to somebody else because always get tested after each and every new partner.
yeah, it is insane that they would decide to like change the laws that, oh no, it's because they're also saying, like, from a moral standpoint, like, that's okay. We're signing off on that. It's fine if you don't have, you don't want to tell your partner that you have AIDS and possibly give them AIDS. Like, that's all cool. I mean, it's such a dark thing, such a I don't know, downfall of society, I
Yeah, I
think.
believe it's to
And
get people under control. It's to get people under control. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like, do what we say or no more AIDS medication for you. I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah,
That's the reason why you see all the news. Like, I mean, people, they're just useful idiots. That's all they are, useful idiots. That's why the gay hairdresser went around infecting like 6 men. And they're a lot like, ha ha ha, I have AIDS, ha ha ha. And they're like women having
yeah.
sex
Oh, it's
with
so
men.
funny, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just, oh, ha ha. I mean, it's not funny. It's serious stuff. And yeah, I think you're probably onto something, that they want to do it to control people. Like, I just saw this video of these micro. Have you heard about these microchips that they're putting in people now?
Oh,
Where
I haven't
they
heard that. I haven't heard about that, but what I have heard is to like your TV or some of these new products, like the new iPhone and whatnot. The government could hear your conversations. Like you
Oh,
can
well, of
keep
course.
track of other people's conversations.
Yeah, it's the NSA is spying on everybody. And but these microchips that, they put them between your thumb and index finger, and some people have already got them, and then you can, like, go and you can do different things, like open your car or open your garage door, and then you can pay with them. And it's kind of like they're basically saying, this is going to be the next thing. Like, first we were transitioning to credit cards, so, oh, a piece of plastic, you don't have to carry around all this money. Now it's, oh, these microchips. Yeah, you don't have to, worry about a wallet or anything. You just need this microchip. And it's kind of like what you were saying, that, hey, if you get out of line, they can just turn it off. It's like, well, cut you off from your money. And there's health applications for these chips, and yeah, it's scary stuff.
Oh, like I'm pretty sure you've been paying attention to WikiLeaks, and like from what I heard on Sargon's channel, it's that there were people like big names like either Hillary knows them or the FBI knows them or whatnot, and they would piss off like the Clintons, like they would be willing to snitch or testify, and then they would get into a car accident, but it wasn't really an
Yeah.
accident. There would just be something in the car, like a bomb in the car, like they put like little bombs, or they try the car or chips that could try the car for you, and the
Right.
accident wouldn't really be an accident. It would be murder. It would just be a well disguised murder.
Right. Yeah. These new advanced cars where they can just, they're so technologically inept, or they could just, remotely control them, because they've got, they're connected to the motherboard in the car. And yeah, it's like, oh man, I don't know. It's scary stuff that's happening in our society right now. They're spying on us. They're, oh, it's globalism. That's what it is.
Yeah, but I think I heard from Sargon's channel that it was either the FBI or the CIA. They like had too much power for a long time, like even back during the time I think of FDR. I'm not sure if it was FDR or if it was somebody else, but because I can barely remember the video, but I did know it's like the FBI or the CIA had too much power for like a long time, and like there was a U.S. president that
Yeah,
wanted to break them up, but
the
then he got
military
assassinated.
industrial complex.
Yeah.
Yeah, he there was one, oh yeah, I'm drawing a blank on the name too. He gave a speech on his way out, who gave the speech about the military industrial complex, and on his way out of the presidency kind of warned everyone like, this is, I'm worried about what's going on. I'm warning the nation. And of course it still went full speed ahead. And a lot of people say JFK was about to go up against these people, against this, break up this, and deep state, I guess is what we call it now. And suddenly ends up dead. So I do think there's something to it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the deep state is like that. That's common vernacular now. I mean, it's not even like, oh, that's conspiracy stuff. It's, people recognize it. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
And they're just completely, it's crazy. We have a president who really doesn't have control over like the CIA and elements of the FBI. Like it's just, we're almost to the point of civil war, because they know Trump is against them, and they're not gonna give up their power without a fight.
I wouldn't be surprised if we did have a civil war. I think it would be a civil war from the left to the right, though, with Antifa. But I think that many states have signed Antifa as a terrorist group or a gang. So
Mm-hmm.
that is nice that many people do see, like, okay, Antifa is a problem, so let's do something about them. So, it
Well,
could help things.
I think we're already in a civil war. I mean, I don't think it's going to be. I mean, we got a long way to go before it's just literally like in most countries like Syria or something, where it's just our troops versus your troops kind of thing. But it's a kind of warfare always changes. It's like it's a modern warfare type civil war. But yeah, it's definitely going on. The deep state, the establishment versus the non-establishment.
Yeah, oh yeah, like how
It's
everybody
crazy.
hated the Donald Trump. Like he got hate from the left and the right. Like even Fox News hated Donald Trump. Like Fox News puts out many articles against Donald Trump, and then he won, so they like softened up for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Somehow he won, when it's like all the most powerful people in the world, or, our country, well, and the world too, but, they're all against him, and somehow he wins. And,
Yeah,
these are very powerful people who are like, they're not just going to throw their hands up and be like, well, had a good run, guys. No, they're going to fight. That's what this whole Russia thing is. It's like, they don't care what the truth is. They just want to impeach this guy and get him gone. And thank God it's not working.
yeah. Fortunately, it didn't work.
Yeah,
Like
certainly didn't.
yeah,
Um, Anyway, I think that's a good place to
yeah.
wrap it up.
Yeah, yeah. It was a nice, pleasant conversation. I mean, I think we had, a really nice, pleasant chat, and it was good having you here.
Yeah, that was good.
Uh,
Thanks.
Thanks for coming. Um, Bye, and bye,
See.
everyone.
Goodbye.